Welcome to the final resting place of the south node of the moon, Ketu. And what happens when this shadow planet comes into your 12th house? Well, what is 12th house? Let's discuss that. 12th house represents a place in your life that shows isolation. Places that you like to go that are isolated. And it also represents isolated places like jails, asylums, hospitals, ashrams, monasteries, anywhere where you just feel away from the civilization. This could be on the top of a mountain, doesn't matter. Isolation, okay? 12th house also represents foreign lands because foreign lands is isolated place from where you were born. 12th house also represents losses, whether it's loss of money or whether it's too many expenses, because even though you have a lot of money, you have too many expenses, so you're giving money out. It also shows money through charity or whatever energy you give out. It could be you helping out people, you helping out the homeless people, and either not only just paying for them, but also taking care of their room, cleaning their room, anywhere you exert your energy towards. It's a house of spirituality and the house of meditation, house of dreams, house of subconscious mind, which also shows it's your sleep state. Bed pleasures. It shows how well do you sleep at night and what do you do in there. It's shown by 12th house. And 12th house is also the house of spirits, dealing with spirits. So now here comes the south node of the moon, Ketu. And what is Ketu? Ketu is isolation, separation from material world and the spiritual world. It's the things that you have already accomplished in the past life, so you're not really here to worry about them as much. It's things that are naturally in you, and because they're naturally in you, you don't feel like there's any use for it. Okay, now people say that Ketu in the 12th house is one of the best positions because it's like two matching things are coming together. But you gotta really look at it this way. Ketu has already accomplished certain things in past life, and that's why he's sitting where he's sitting. Okay, so here Ketu is a bit neutral. It's not like the best position for Ketu, and neither is the worst. Because here, Ketu feels irritated with the 12th house things. Why? Because he just can't seem to get them in balance. Anytime a Ketu person goes into an isolation, he cannot find isolation. Anytime Ketu goes towards spirituality, he doesn't like the way spirituality is working in those places. He tries to go and work in hospital. Ketu tries to go and work in isolated places or jails. He can't find satisfaction there. Because why? Ketu is unsatisfied in this life. He can't see. Because if he can't see, he cannot judge if I'm satisfied with it or not. Where Rahu, even he just doesn't get satisfied because he doesn't have a throat and a stomach to make himself full, because it's just the head. So in this life, you are actually here to deal with the matters of the real world. That 6th house. That's where Rahu is. That's where your obsession, that's where your whole mind is, in competition, dealing and destroying enemies, dealing with litigations, dealing with arguments, dealing with everyday work life. You're here to just make that most of that real world, to be in there. Okay, and so especially early on in age, this position, it makes you irritated. Like anytime you do want to feel secluded, you want to feel private, Ketu's energy is just not feeling that, because he's just like, well, I already know what spirituality is. I've already experienced it, but I just don't. And then when I try to find it in this life, I can't find it. I get irritated, and I don't like the spiritual way these people are, going about. I like this other one, but then they don't have it there. So early on in life, there's a lot of struggle with the spiritual realm of displacement. However, as the age increases, as the body gets old, as the soul matures, they start to then find more inclination towards spirituality, towards finding that, that ultimate spiritual heaven. They start to reject the material world, because here Ketu is saying that, look, the material world is not here to satisfy me. What is here to satisfy me is finding my spiritual self, but I just can't seem to find it. So I'm just stuck in this battle. Like, okay, I can't find the spiritual world, so fine, might as well just work. And Rahu and Ketu both need each other. In a way, they both need each other. Because here Ketu is not feeling satisfied because he is not able to find that privacy. So he takes help of Rahu and he says, hey, you're my other part, do the work that you're here to do. And so Rahu is out there battling. Rahu is out there, dealing with everyday life. So that's where and then Rahu, when he's dealing with the everyday life, he still wants to feel secluded, and that's where Ketu is. And so slowly these two work their own magic, and finally at a certain age, especially after the age of 43, these people realize what life is, what spirituality is. They start to feel, that calmness within them. However, early on, like pleasure of the bed, the sleep, they're not satisfied with that. They just cannot seem to find that rest in their mind. And the reason why this placement of the nodes is considered, one of the most important, because here this shows that you will get enlightenment in life. You will find that final resting place for your soul. You will ultimately go back to the source energy with this placement. But the reason why there's a struggle is because the energy of this universe, whatever it is, whether it's gravity as God, dark matter as God, or dark energy as God, is trying to tell you that look at the struggles of the material world. Ketu, Rahu in the sixth house is struggling and fighting for the material gains, for the material world. And once it has satisfied that craving, or up to a point, even though it's never satisfied, then Ketu, sitting in the 12th house, realizes that, okay, this is what exactly life is. It's nothing. It makes you want to go for the material gains. You do get material gains with this placement, but this is that placement where you finally just realize this is nothing. Material world is absolutely useless. For me to have that nice camera, for me to have that nice car or the house or the most beautiful woman, I got it, but it wasn't fulfilling me. But what fulfills me ultimately is Ketu. And so later on in life, they actually tend to get more connected with the spiritual world, the spirit's world. They can actually become mystics. But after a significant amount of struggle, they become mystics. So don't think that just because you have Ketu in the 12th house, you just are, you're validated for getting an enlightenment. No, if you just sit there and do nothing, it will not come to you. This will actually push you more towards the material things. But first half of life will be full of that material, that absolute real world scenarios. And then you will finally find that satisfaction. And the reason why this is, again, one of those moksha places is because, again, like the 8th house Ketu in the 12th house is looking at the 4th house and is looking at the 8th house. Okay? 4th house of mother's nourishment, mother's love, your early childhood, your home. And here you'll learn to detach yourself from it. And then it's looking at the 8th house of deep underground matters, sudden changes, sudden events. And so here Ketu is here to free you from that. It says, now I even know what the mystical world is, what the deep dark world is. And I can't seem to really find what I'm looking for there. So I guess the ultimate truth must be this absolute final resting place where mysticism, where all these dark secrets are just nothing. They're in a completely other realm, which is not the ultimate realm where Ketu is. So it detaches from that. Once it detaches from there, it finds its enlightenment. It finds its final resting place. However, this can, if especially, a certain planet is sitting here with Ketu, or the Lord of the 12th house is in the 6th or 8th house, it can also land people in jail, isolated places. If Ketu, let's say, is in Scorpio here, this can lead you to become a medical doctor who's working in like hospitals in these absolute, environment of death where souls finally leave. So you can be in this situation. So don't think Ketu is just spiritual. It can also have its malefic effect and land people in jail in their dasha. But usually it's more of the Rahu thing than Ketu thing. So Ketu usually just takes people to foreign lands. They wander into foreign lands. They do not know who they are. That's another thing with these things. Up until 43 years of age, they just don't know who they are. They're confused like no other. They like the 8th house Ketu. They're confused of their identity. They're searching for it, but then ultimately they find it. So here, this is the final resting place of Ketu. And it's a final episode of Ketu in the 12th house. And we're done, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe above, because I'm going to be announcing my next Planet Through series by tomorrow. And if you want to know where your planets are placed before I do all these series, check out my link below. Check out my book, The Astrology at the Speed of Light. And when you get the book, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Otherwise, sayonara. Bye-bye.